Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Sunday and it's time for a new tutorial. In this tutorial we will be talking about how to interface with PostgreSQL server from within C++. In order to write programs that would interface with Postgres, you need a connector library. Uh, Postgres provides a couple of libraries to interface with the database. Some are made in C, some are made in Python, and there is a unofficial C++ connector for Postgres that relies on the official connector that is made in C, and we will be talking about that. For this purpose, you will need to go to the like PQXX site. So it's this connector, it's called pqxx.org, and you will need to download the library from there. Now here's the thing: if you are on Linux like me, then you'd probably need to go to your, I don't know, your app management system, for example, like for example Apple. I have Apple here. You just type like pqxx, come on, okay, and you can find the libraries that you need. You will need to install the dev and the latest that you have, and probably the documents if you want to read that, and you should. So after you install these, you would be ready to go. So for your own convenience, I have created already a table for the database user. Here I have a couple of them, login roles. So I have created a Bugs Bunny user or role, and for that I have created a database called BugsDB, and in that I have a table called friends. Okay, so these are the data that are in friends. Okay, like you have the primary key here is an integer value of some sort, then you have the full name, the phone, whatever, the email, and the address. All these data are of course fictional. Don't try anything, don't try to contact them, or if you want, use it on your own risk. Okay, these are imaginary that I have created from my mind for the purpose of this tutorial. Now so now we have installed, supposedly installed like PQXX, and you have your editor, you have all the tools installed. Let's create a project for this. So I will be doing here test PQXX. Okay, so I have test PQXX. Okay, I will be creating a directory for the binaries, and I will be creating the main application file, and now I can read this. Okay, so I'm using of course Visual Studio Code, which is freely available on all platforms. It's a very powerful editor, and it is almost as an IDE, so I really recommend you to use that, but you can use of course whatever you want. So I'll open the folder, it's test PQXX. Alright, and I have an empty file here. Well, okay, and for the purpose of this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to the database, providing the credentials that I have, and I will be performing a select statement on the table that I have on the database. So what are the things that I will be needing here? First, I will be needing some strings. I will be using vector because the data that will be retrieved, I mean the data set will be in a form of vectors, which means this file should be included, the vector file. Then I will be using a IO stream. Why? Because I will be outputting to the console to show you the results. So cout and L are needed for this case. And this is optional, but is a robust stuff. And I'm going to include the fstream header. I will be using files. Why? Because I'm not going to show you, for example, the credentials themselves, which you shouldn't be showing yourself. I mean, you don't want people to know the password and the username for your database, because of course I don't have anything special in my database, but this is a security measure that everyone should be respecting. What I'm going to do is that I will be providing my credentials inside a file, and I will be reading that file using fstream. Now here is the PQXX part. You will be including a PQXX, which is the object directory for the library, unless you have installed PQXX in a special and unconventional directory. But if you have installed it in the standard directory, then this is the place that you should be looking at. And you will be including PQXX. This is the common header file for this library. I will be using namespace standard for this purpose because I have a lot of standard files here. Now, we can start by defining the main function, which is argc, and of course argv. I will be returning 0 in case of success. Now, alright, so let me just create a file. Oops, yeah, here. New file, and I will be call it login.txt. This file should contain the credentials, and while I shouldn't be doing this, but I will show you how the credentials are placed. For example, I have the user, which is called Bugs Bunny, and on the second line the password will be magic carrot. Okay, I will save this file. So after saving this file, I can now continue with my stuff. I will define an if stream, and I will call it input. The if stream is the structure that will be holding the credentials file. Okay, and usually you can initialize it by the name of the actual file. So in this case it is login text, and here is the thing. Okay, if you attempt to read the file, okay, then you should check whether the file has been read properly or not, because if not, you will have problems. Your program will crash or something else. Okay, so in that case you will check if the input is okay or not. Okay, if not input, that means you have problems. Now in that case I will show some message like couldn't open the credentials file. Okay, and I will end the program by returning -1. Otherwise, if we passed this point, that means the file has been read properly. Now, I will form a vector of strings, and I will call it credentials. Okay, and while the file, which means input, hasn't reached the end, which means while not input end of file. Okay, if I didn't reach the end of file, continue reading. So I will define a string for the actual line, and I will use the global function getLine. This is a very convenient function. You just put the stream that you are going to read from, and you will put the string that you are going to read into. So in that case, I will put the stream I'm reading from input, and I'm getting my data, the actual line, into the string line. Okay, I have that. In that case, I will push that string back into the credential structure. Okay, now, so of course, if you want to verify whether you have read that properly or not, you can do something like that. User, for example, and you will read credentials 0, okay, and line, okay, and the same for the password, but I'm not going to do it here because I suppose you're not as beginner as that. Now, here comes now the part that is specific for Postgres. You will define a string and you will call it connection string. Okay, and in that connection string you will put some parameters that are supposed to go to the real connection string in Postgres, in the PQXX. Well, the parameters that you actually have to define here, okay, is, for example, the host or the address of the Postgres server, and in that case I'm using localhost, or you can use the IP address of 127.0.0.1, but in that case it's enough to save localhost. The other parameter is the port, and the standard Postgres port is 5432. Now the database name is, in our case, if you look, the database is bugsdb. Okay, so db name, in that case bugsdb. And now, okay, now you have the user, and the user isn't well, by your security measures, you shouldn't be putting the user, you shouldn't hard code the user here, okay, because this is a security problem. So you do something like that. Okay, you have the credentials, you add the credentials. Okay, credentials 0 is the username, and you have the password in that case, and this is credentials 1, right? It's the second line, which means credentials 1. So this is how you define the connection string that you will going to send to the database. Now there is a structure in PQXX called connection, and here you can see it, connection. All right, and that connection can be whatever con, and this where you serve this structure. Okay, you send the connection string and since it takes a car pointer, then you have to convert your string into a car pointer. I have to do this in that case, which is C string. Okay. Now, after having the connection string defined, you need to define a structure called work. So something, it is, I mean, the work structure is something like a transaction or a pre-transaction something. You have to define that structure and give the connection string that you have defined also as well. So it's like, let's say work, I don't know, like this work, and you will have to send the connection string to that, right? Now you have also to define the result that you are going to receive after you do your transaction, or after you do your query. You have to receive the dataset, and the dataset is defined as the work that will execute. Okay, there is an exec function that will execute your query. Now here comes your query. You put your query here. So it's select star from table friends. Okay. Since you are already on database bugsdb, then there is no problem with this. Okay. If you were on a different database, then there might be problems here with that. You probably would have to specify the database name here. Okay, but since we are doing everything straightforward way, then this is enough. Now you want to check the result that you have, and the result is determined by the size of the dataset that you are receiving. For example, if you have the results size, okay, and remember, result is a vector of vectors. So in that case, you have the size function here, which returns to you the number of actual elements that you have. So in that case, if the result has less than one row, okay, that means that we have problems. Okay, mean the result was empty or something. So see out, let's say an empty or an error, an empty table or an error. Okay, so I will return one in that case. Now, since we have passed this point, that means our dataset is full of goodies, and we want to show the results to the screen or whatever. Okay, you could probably be using the dataset to store the data into another file, for example. But in this case, in this example, we will be simply showing the data to the screen. So, see out, we have the ID, and I will be placing some tab probably here. Okay, you have the name, you will be having what? The phone. I don't know if 4, 5, 8 spaces probably is enough. We'll see. Okay, so you will have the email. Okay, you will have the address, and that's it for this row. Now we are going to iterate. So for int equals 0, For I equals 0, I is less than result size, right? And I is incremented by 1. C out. Let's say, okay, here. So since result is a vector of vectors, then you access the elements by the rows, which means the first index is the row and the second index is the column. So here you have this is the ID, so 1 2 3 4, let's say, and let me copy this because it is annoying a bit. So I'll copy this here, here, okay, here, 1 2 3 4, and I think this is the last one. So this is 4, this is 3, this is 2, and this is 1. So anything else? I think that's it. Oh. Okay. All right. So let me check. I have the created terminal. Okay, we now will try to compile this program and we'll see what will happen. So main cpp, we will be adding, yeah, this is an important thing. When you are trying to compile, be sure to include the lib PQXX before the lib PQ, because PQXX relies on LPQ. So in this case, I will be outputting the file to bin, and I will be call it as test PQXX for the sake of it. Whoops. Pointer unexpected. Ah, yeah. I didn't see this for int I. Okay. All right. Okay. Since we have our executable here, so let me check. All right. So let's check this. Couldn't open the credential files. Oh yeah, okay. This should be alright. So let's try again. Here you go. So we have logged into the database, we have pulled out the data, and we have displayed the data. This is how you interface with PostgreSQL database server through C++ connector. And this concludes the tutorial for this session. Next time I will be introducing something probably more fun. We'll see. See you next time. Thank you.